welcome or welcome back to my channel Hasty Books. I'm Camilla and today I'm going to sort of plan out one of the goals that I have for 2025, which is to read from 12 new to me countries, so authors from those countries. Hopefully the books are based there as well, but you know, it has to have sort of part of that culture. And I've gone through my spreadsheet which has all the countries and all of sort of what I've read so far. And I try, usually when I've done this before, I've tried to pick 2 countries from sort of all continents, except Antarctica, obviously. Which gives you, because there's 6, that gives you 12 countries. And I'm sort of slowly getting to there with like South America, Oceania. So that's great. I'm really behind, surprisingly, Europe and Africa. And everything else, like I'm reading quite a lot from those regions. But yeah, anyway, I'm still going 222, and at some point I may do like a blitz of reading from a certain continent region, but for this year, this is the plan. So let's dive right in and talk about the different books. So in Europe, the 2 countries that I picked were Albania and Romania. I'm really excited because last year I went to Romania with my husband for the first time, and it was just really cool to discover sort of a new to us culture and sort of get immersed in the capital city and everything. So it was really good. And while we're there, I purchased a book. So that's the book on my list for this year. And it's good because it goes into my challenge of reading my shelves. So it is The Land of Green Plums by Herta Müller. She has won the Nobel Prize of Literature, which also goes for my goal of reading the women who won the Nobel. And yeah, so she's from Romania. I believe that this discusses actually, yeah, it says set in Romania at the height of the Ceausescu's reign of terror. This book tells a sort of a group of young students basically, and this is kind of what we dive into. I'm really excited about it, which is why I purchased it. And I honestly, I only bought it 6 months ago, so I feel like if I read it this year, that's pretty good for me. The second one for Albania, I am planning on reading Free Coming of Age at the End of History by Lea Ypi. I don't know how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry about that. I believe this book was longlisted for a prize a couple of years ago, and that's how it kind of came on my radar, and it's sort of been on the TBR for a while. I saw that my library has it, so I'm gonna try to read it at some point, probably after the Women's Prize reading, but you know, maybe over the summer or in the autumn. For Africa, the 2 countries that I picked were Egypt and Mauritius, and I'm very excited by that. The first one is actually a book I also own, so that's great, and I've owned it for quite a few years. It's called A Pure Heart by Rajia. Hassib. It has been on my shelf for a long time, and I was like, oh, this is a great time to get to it. Realized I never read from like an author from Egypt before, so I'm really surprised by that. So I think that'll be a really good one for this list. For Mauritius, I actually got an ARC for this one, and it is When the Night Agrees to Speak to Me by Ananda Devi, and it has actually the original in French, and then it has been translated. So this ARC that I got is a translation by Kazim Ali, who's an American poet and I guess translator, and it's really good. So I basically say I will be reading it, but I have started to read it, and I probably might finish it in a week or 2, so maybe even before this video goes live I'll have finished it. But I'm excited by this. The poetry is so beautiful, simple, poignant, and I really enjoyed that it has an interview between the translator and the author. It has a bit more kind of information about the background of it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this new edition that's coming out basically. For Asia, I decided to kind of look in the southeastern peninsula a little bit, mostly because I was struggling to find like easily accessible to me books from sort of the Turkmenistan, Tajikistan area. I will be digging deeper into that maybe in a different year, but for now I picked Myanmar and Cambodia as my 2 countries. So for Cambodia, I decided to go with sort of more children's literature. It's called A Dozen Delicious Donuts by Chanda Wolf, and I believe this is more like a Cambodian American take on, you know, children stories, and I'm really excited by that because it's also a different genre than what I'm used to. And for Myanmar, I think it's sort of a biography, so it's called Aung San Suu Kyi by Wendy Law-Yone, and is basically about this world leader, and she's a Nobel winner, and I was really keen to find out more about this person. I feel like I found this book online and I want to read more about her, and I mean, hopefully she's not a controversial figure. Like I don't actually know that much more, but I found it and I was like, oh, that would be a really good one, because I feel like politically and culturally would also be speaking very much so about Myanmar, the country. So yeah, I think that'll be great to immerse myself. For Oceania, I've picked Fiji and Papua New Guinea, and in that region I've really struggled to find books. So some of these countries I've found short stories and poetry, so that's sort of what I've been reading. Sometimes it doesn't show up in Goodreads Storygraph because they're not there. So for Papua New Guinea, I'm going to be reading Butternut is Bad Magic for Airplanes by John Kasaipwalova. Sorry again for maybe butchering that, but I'm very excited. I found a bunch of suggestions online. This was one of like the top sort of short stories from a native from Papua New Guinea, so very excited. And for Fiji, I decided to go with A Disappearance in Fiji by Nilima Rao. It says it's a charming and atmospheric debut mystery featuring a 25-year-old Indian police sergeant investigating a missing persons case in colonial Fiji. And now in the Americas, like for South America, I've picked Guyana and Venezuela. So Venezuela, I realized that this is actually a book that I mentioned years ago in one of these lists. It would be Night in Caracas by Karina Sains Borgo, and I never read it. So I think this is the year. And for Guyana, actually, I think it's a Guyanese British author, Fred Daguerre, and it's Letters to America. And this is more of like a poetry collection, so it's shorter again, which is good. Especially Guyana is a country I've heard much even about, you know, like a lot of the other countries, you've heard a lot about it. Maybe you haven't read authors from there, but Guyana I haven't really heard from generally, so I think that'll be really cool. And finally, for North America, I've picked Belize and Panama because I'm counting North America till, you know, Central America and including Caribbean and everything. So for Belize, I'm going to read Emilia by Victor Manuel Duran, and I believe this is a sort of biography about his mother, who's like a matriarch and a really important figure in Belize. And then for Panama, I decided to go, I believe she's American, but I think her parentage is from Panama, but it's The Great Divide by Cristina Henriquez. And I feel it's maybe a bit of a cop-out, but I thought this sounded really interesting. It's more, maybe a bit more modern commercial fiction, but also discusses like a big event in Panama and world history about the construction of the Panama Canal. So I think it's gonna be a really cool historical fiction to get into. But if you have any recommendations about the countries I've mentioned or neighboring countries, you know, you can give me suggestions. I would really love it. I'm compiling lots of names, even sometimes I don't have access to them, so I can't actually read them right away, but you know, it's cool to have a list of recommendations and suggestions to look into from different countries, especially trying to read from diverse voices and stuff like that. So yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, and I see you back. Bye.